how can we characterize a specific site and how can we evaluate them? Ayun. So una, the first two major step in establishing an agricultural enterprise is to identify proper site. Ayan, identify proper site and identify a specific location kung saan siya ilalagay. And of course, you also need to evaluate the physical, biological, and socioeconomic conditions existing in the area, adaptable crops, and technological inputs that you could or that you should have in order for you to have a successful crop production. So those are the two major steps in establishing an agricultural enterprise. So whether that is a vegetable, a garden, a fruit orchard, or even rice fields, etc., you need to evaluate them based on these different factors. So, ito, site versus location lang. So, site refers to the immediate place where any given crop is grown or planted. So, let's say for example, in your own room, kung nasan ka man ngayon, so that could be a site. Whereas ang location, it refers to the geographical position where the agricultural enterprise will be situated. So location is more on the general view or on the bird's eye view. Ayun. So let's say for example, if you are from Mindanao, perhaps your location will be Mindanao or your specific province kung nasaan ka man or town. Ayun. So those are the differences between site and location. So, here are some of the factors that you need to consider in site selection. We have the physical factors, we have the biological factors, and we have the socio-economic factors. So, first, let's have the physical factors. Una, we have slope and topography. So, it refers to the contour of the land. Because the contour of the land, it influences the retention and movement of water, the movement of soil material, soil depth, and the amount of surface runoff. Ayan. So a steep slope is susceptible to soil erosion. So when soil conservations are not applied. So this is the reason why when choosing a location, it is important that you consider kung ano nga ba yung iyong slope. So let's say for example, kasi it will dictate what type of crops will you uh plant in that specific place. So if the slope of your land is more than 18%, then it it is already an upland location. But if it is less than 18%, yan. So ayan, lowland pa yan. So, ang parang ang parang implication nito is that kapag 18% pataas, you will already plant upland crops, and at the same time, you need to have soil conservation measures. So let's say for example, ang na-mention dito, terracing. But there are still a lot of things that you can do when it comes to soil, water, soil and water conservation measures. So we will discuss that in another video. Ayun. So ang contour of the land or ang slope ng ating land, ayan, it can be calculated by first establishing the contour line. So let's say for example, dito in this location, so you can plot 10 different points kung saan magiging equal yung position ng contour line. So some of the things that you need to have kapag para makuha yon ay yung tinatawag natin na A-frame. So ayun yung A-frame para makita lang niya kung balanse ba yung isang point towards the other point. So ang pwede natin gawin ay kukuha dito, let's say for example, ito na yung ito na yung mga points na yon. Then kukuha rin tayo dito. Ayan. Tapos ito yung i-measure natin. So merong 10 ganyan. Kunwari, ayan na yon. Ayan. Of course, meron tong rice. Ito yung rice, 'di ba? Tapos meron tayong run. Yan. So ito yung rice, ito yung run. Then ika-calculate lang natin 'yon para makuha yung ating slope. So let's say for example, ang nakuha mo dito is 22, yung average nilang 10, kapag 22 yun, so it indicates that the land is an upland. Ayun. So ang implication nun is to plant upland crops, trees, mga ganyan, and to also have soil conservation measures. Ayun. So it is important because the net effectivity of the area decreases with an increase in slope. So when you go to upland places, of course, mas oonti yung mga halaman na pwede mong itanim compared sa lowland. So let's say for example, kapag lowland, of course, pwede dyan yung mga gulay, prutas, even yung mga agronomic crops natin, pwede dyan lahat. Pero kapag habang tumataas yung slope natin, mas umuunti yung kailangan kasi marami ng considerations. And of course, in terms of the socio-economic, then accessibility could be a big problem. Ayun. So, aside from soil, aside from slope and also the topography of your land, of course, you also need to consider the soil texture. So, I remember that in during the during soil science, parang one of the questions, ito yung apat na beses na naulit, kung which of the following soil characteristics, like it cannot be changed, I think. Ayun yata yung question. Wait lang, let me verify. Soil science. Soils. Ayun, parang ano ang hindi magbabago. So, ang mga naalala kong choices during that time ay soil texture, soil structure, yan, soil stickiness, and soil plasticity. So, alin daw ang pinakamahirap baguhin? So, ang answer daw doon, I think hinuwa-hiwalay ko yung sagot ko dito. Parang tatlo yata yung texture, tas yung isa ay iba. So, ayun. Ang sagot daw ay soil texture. Because, ayun nga, kung ano na yung nasa soil, ayun na siya. So, you can improve it using like, tawag dito, different amendments. Ayun. Pero of course, yung kunwari, kapag kasi sinabing clay, 'di ba kasi ang clay, silt, and sand, meron silang parang limits na with a specific millimeter, ayun yung it is considered as sand. With a specific ayun yung silt, 'di ba? So I think that's the rationale behind ba't hindi siya mababago. Uh, compared, let's say for example, sa plasticity, so of course, merong water content. Ganyan. O kaya sa stickiness, same true. Pwedeng baguhin through the water content. And ano yung isa? Structure. Ayun, yung soil structure siguro. At doon na yung ayun na yung pwede kasi yung mga practices like deep tillage, yung mga ganon to change the soil structure. Anyway, so ang soil texture natin, when you go to soil science, meron tayong soil triangle, 'di ba? So ayun lang 'yun, relative proportion of the clay, silt, and sand. And structure and consistency of the soil depend on the amount of clay in the soil. Ayan. So clay plus organic matter, kapag clay, tapos nilagay mo ng organic matter as its amendment, it can hold water and nutrients. Because, of course, ang clayey soil natin, sabi natin, ayun yung pinakamaliit, ayun yung pinaka-sticky. So, kapag nilagyan mo siya or inamend mo siya using organic matter na established din natin in our discussion on nutrient management, it's that it can also improve the soil aggregation. Ayan, yung physical properties ng ating soil. So, kasi nga parang, let's say for example, organic matter, gumawa ka ng compost. So, yung mga compost na yun, it is composed of different, let's say for example, banana peels, orange peels, etc. So, yung mga yun, may mga inherent silang mga spaces and malalaki yung mga like may mga chunks sila. So, kapag inihalo mo 'yan, kapag inihalo mo 'yan sa Wait lang. Kapag inihalo mo yon sa soil, so the tendency is that magkakaroon din ng spaces doon sa soil natin. Ayun. So, wait lang, na-disconnect ang aking slide. Ayun. So, clay binds soil particles together into structural aggregates. Ayan. So, clay holds more water and nutrients and a higher CEC than sandy soils. So, kapag sinabi nating holds more water, we are talking about our water holding capacity. So, ang concept of water holding capacity is highly also related to our nutrient holding capacity. Ayan. So related silang dalawa kasi again, if in the context of the soils, yung water, siya yung magdadala ng nutrients sa ating plant roots. Ganon. So, bakit mas mataas ang water holding capacity and nutrient holding capacity and CEC? CEC, again, it's another soil science term, pero ang meaning lang nito is, kasi 'di ba, ang mga nutrients natin, it is made out of cations. It is made up of cations. Ang meaning ng CEC ay cation exchange capacity. So, the higher the CEC, parang mas mataas ang nutrients na meron sa soil natin. So, itong tatlong concept na to, it is related with each other. So, the higher the cation exchange capacity, mataas din ang nutrient holding capacity. Tapos, dahil yung water holding, kung ang water holding capacity ay mataas, then there are more tendency na yung mga nutrients natin from the soil ay madidissolve sa water na ayun yung pwedeng i-absorb ng ating plant roots. Ayun. So, ang sandy soils kasi, imagine mo, di ba sila may pinakamalalaking particles? So, if you will look at this, and this can be done using like experiment on ano. Kapag malalaki yung particles mo, kapag yan, nagbuhos ka ng water, sobrang bilis niyan nabababa. Sobrang bilis bababa ng water diyan. Compared kapag clayey ang soil or mas maliliit yung particles. Kasi dito, mas malalaki yung spaces na nandyan. Tapos kapag mas maliliit, parang mas masisikip yung spaces natin. Let's say for example, ganyan-ganyan. So mas bagal na bababa yung tubig dito. So that is also the reason why in rice fields, sabi nga natin kanina, mas gusto yung clayey na soil para magkaroon ng hard pan para hindi na bababa yung water papunta sa baba at magkaroon lang ng infiltration. Ayun. So, too much clay soil is sticky when wet and hard when dry. So thus may give inadequate aeration for plant roots. Ayun naman yung isa sa downfall ng clayey na soil. That is the reason why, ang sabi natin dito sa kabilang slide, a combination of clay and organic matter. Para at least yung organic matter, it will create spaces. Kasi malalaki ang mga organic matter na yan. Kumbaga, di ba, yung trowel, kinukultivate natin yung lupa. Ganon. So it will also create spaces kapag in-incorporate natin yung organic matter doon sa ating soil. Kasi kapag puro clay lang yung soil, ang mangyayari, there will be inadequate aeration for plant roots. So this is also a factor na kailangan i-consider in terms of the plant that you are planting. So let's say for example, in the case of irrigated rice, since sila ay na-breed to withstand that type of condition na irrigated sila. So they can survive. But if you will plant like other crops, let's say for example, silinaceous crops, into that environment na irrigated siya, the tendency is that magkakaroon ng anaerobic respiration. Magkakaroon ng uh, a- anaerobic condition that can lead to further pests and diseases na nandoon sa roots nila. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng root rot, kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng mga soft rot ng mga stems, kaya sa stems. Ano pa ba yung mga karaniwang, basta mga rots, more on bacterial na infections or bacterial na mga diseases sa crops. So kapag wala masyadong aeration, ang plant roots, doon nagde-develop ang root rot. So ang mga pwede diyang mga pathogen ay ano ba yun? Pythium. Meron pang isa eh. Pythium. Nakalimutan ko isa pero starts with letter P rin yon. Nakalimutan ko na. Basta yung Pythium SPP, yung mga ganyan. Basta i-search nyo na lang yung root rot. Or kung naalala nyo, the good. Ayun, root rot. Ayan. So, ito yung cation exchange capacity pala. So, it is the maximum quantity of total cations that a soil is capable of holding at a given pH value. So, again, we will look at the pH value kasi nga, the presence of different nutrients is also affected by the pH level, kung ano yun doon sa soil. So kapag mas mataas ang pH, then possible na merong mga ilang nutrients or hindi possible. Meron talaga mga ilang nutrients na hindi na magiging active on that scale. And on the other hand, kapag acidic naman, iilan na lang yung nutrients na active like aluminum and iron. Ayun. So, ayun yung cation exchange capacity. Quantity of total cations. Remember that our nutrients are made up of cations. Say, for example, Na+, ganyan, di ba? K+, yung mga ganon. So, they are made up of cations available for exchange with the soil solution. So it is a useful indicator of soil fertility and nutrient retention capacity. So CAC is highly dependent on soil texture and organic matter content. Yan. Soil texture, kanina nga yung diniscuss ko dito na sila ay magkaka uh, magkaka-connect yung tatlong iyan. Yon. So for diversified upland crop for diversified upland crops, so ang maganda ay medium textured soils. So kumbaga, if we will look at the soil triangle, ito yung mga nandito sa gitna. Yung mga nandyan, ayun yung best soil for a diversified upland crops. So in most of the crops, ayun yung okay, which is yung loam and yung silt loam. And yung poorly drained naman na clayey na soils, ito yung nire-discuss natin kanina na may hard pan, it is preferred by paddy rice or yung ating lowland rice. Or another term is irrigated rice. Ayan. Yon. So another concept is yung soil depth. This is another physical factor. If you will recall, kanina we are talking about deep dug beds. So it is also concerned with the depth. So it is a measure of the soil volume available for the development of root system of the plants. So deep soil provides the capacity to store water and plant nutrients. The concept is that the deeper the soil, the more productive the crop is. So it is also related to the concepts of water holding capacity and nutrient holding capacity. Ayun. Another one is soil drainage. So parang yung infiltration is the removal of water from the soil through surface runoff and by flow through the soil to underground spaces. So well-drained soils promote favorable conditions for plant growth and microbial activity, and it encourages granulation and aeration. But of course, ang gusto nga natin in irrigated rice or paddy rice ay yung hindi nagde-drain yung soil. So low dapat yung kanyang soil drainage. So ayan, poor drainage soils have limited agricultural use except for paddy rice. And however, soil drainage can be altered by management. So you can have a drainage system or the other one is of course tillage. Available water holding capacity is the water content of a soil held between field capacity and permanent wilting point. So these are concepts. Kapag titingnan natin yung available water, kapag gusto natin i-compute, field capacity minus permanent wilting point lang. So these are concepts that are highly related na sa physical properties ng soil sa soil science. So I will also give this one to your lecturer of soil science. But as I remember, during the boards, I think wala namang computation ng ganito sa soil science. Pero malay natin, 'di ba? Baka magbago sila ngayon. So these are just some definitions of this term. So field capacity represents the maximum amount of water a soil can hold against the normal drainage. Permanent wilting point is the water held in the soil when the plants started to wilt, and the available water storage capacity of the soil is determined by pore size, texture, and soil depth. The available water holding capacity of soil influences both irrigated and rain-fed areas. So in irrigated areas, the amount and frequency of irrigation are determined by the available moisture or the water holding capacity of the soil. In rain-fed areas, so let's say for example, upland crops, yung mga agroforestry, the available water holding capacity determines how long the crops can tolerate the dry period. Kaya in upland spaces or upland sites, ang ginagawa nila ay merong mga water conservation methods. Let's say for example, rainwater harvesting or yung talaga meron silang drainage canals, etc. So more of that when we go to sustainable systems in agriculture. So soil erosion, the degree isa rin to sa mga factors na kailangan i-consider. It is the degree and amount of soil erosion. Mali. Yung soil erosion, it is actually dependent on the steepness and the length of the slope. So, kung ano yung climate doon, yung kind of soil, nature of the land use and vegetative cover, and cultural and soil management practices. I have another discussion on soil erosion. So, just to also have an introduction, and soils with longer and steeper slopes are more susceptible to severe soil erosion than soils with lower or shorter slopes. Sandy soil is more susceptible to erosion than clayey soil because of a lack of binding materials. Clay soil is sticky kasi. So, ang sandy soil, dire-diretso lang siya na mag-erode. So, isipin mo na lang, mahirap gumawa ng parang tumpok ng sand sa beach, di ba? Kasi na sobrang bilis rin nilang mahulog or ma-disintegrate. So the nature of land use and vegetative cover greatly influence the degree of soil erosion. So ang concept nito is yung diniscuss ko on rain velocity, yung sa multi-cropping, yung kapag sa forestry areas, meron tayong tinatawag na multi-level intercropping. Ayun, so merong mga puno sa taas, then pababa ng pababa. May mga crops pa rin na nandun hanggang sa pinakababa, andun yung mga shade-loving crops like gabi, ganun. Or yung, ayun, gabi and other crops na kapag yung tubig ay galing sa taas, dahil yung mga dahon ng mga crops na nasa taas ay marami, so mas nagiging slow yung velocity ng water. Ayun. And also, gamit din yung cover, yung mga nahuhulog na mga dried leaves, etc. ng mga crops na nasa taas. Ayun. They also serve as the vegetative land cover to lessen the impact ng rain doon sa lupa mismo. And of course, you have soil fertility. So soil fertility refers to the status of the soil in terms of its ability to provide the plants adequate amount of nutrients and balanced proportion and in readily available form necessary for normal plant growth. So we have a full discussion on this when sa nutrient management and sa plant nutrition. So soil fertility is influenced by soil pH, organic matter content, available phosphorus, potassium, and carbon, and cation exchange capacity. Yeah, so those are the different physical factors that you need to consider when starting an agricultural enterprise. The next one is biological. So this one somehow will be quick. So the biological factors, number one, una, ay yung cropping pattern being followed. Kung ano ba yung mga crops na nandun na. So that can also indicate which crops are best to grow in a specific area. Let's say, for example, pumunta ka sa isang site, tapos nakita mo na meron nakatanim yung kapitbahay or yung lupa na eggplant. So it is possible na in that same site, lumalaki ng maayos yung mga solanaceous crops. Ganon. Another is production practices in the area. So, kunwari, nasa ano ka, ah, rice field. Ganyan. Tapos gusto mong, merong rice field sa gilid, tapos ikaw, ang gusto mo ay hindi na rice ang iyong itatanim. Of course, kailangan mo rin i-consider ano nga ba yung mga pest ng rice. So, kunwari, meron dong mga rats. So, of course, if you are looking for productivity sa iyong mismong farm, kailangan mo i-consider na, okay, kailangan ko siguro magkaroon ng barrier dito para maprotektahan yung uh, maprotektahan yung farm mo na itatayo mo from those pests na meron yung kabila. Ganun. Ayun. Uh, encompassing na rin sa number three, pests and diseases present in the area. Yeah. And of course, you have social economics. So this encompass yung peace and order situation, manpower availability, market availability, farmers' preferences, zoning or other regulations, and yung land tenure situation. So mga farm to market roads, dito na yon papasok. So in assessing a specific land, meron tayong mga suitability assessment principle. So the limiting condition principle, the most unfavorable quality determines the suitability classification. So kung kunwari, masyadong ma, ma taas yung steepness or yung slope niya. So that is the limiting condition principle. So the subjective assessment principle, suitability classes naman are raised or lowered on the basis of judgment of the importance of different factors. Because subjective assessments are risky, the relevant factors are weighted and that account is taken of special limitations that may occur if two or more negative factors occur together. So ito naman more on subjective. So ito yung mga different principle, limiting condition, subjective, and of course, meron tayong the principle of arithmetic modeling. The fact that each land quality has an independent influence on suitability means that land qualities can be assigned values and manipulated arithmetically to provide a numerical assessment of overall suitability. So dito, gagamit tayo ng multi-criteria. So let's say for example, yung mga physical factors, tapos merong i-assign na weight dyan sa mga yan. Say for example, good ba yung drainage, or mababa ba yung drainage, ano yung slope niya, then may mga scores na ilalagay doon. Say for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kasi ko-compute lang siya for suitability analysis. So ayan, yung mga land suitability classification dun sa arithmetic model na yon ay ito, prime agricultural lands. So prime agricultural lands are areas with none to moderate limitations with a suitability rating of S1 and S2. So perhaps kapag in-average yan, andun siya sa level ng 4 to 5. Ayan, 5 being the highest. So this means that the land characteristics have none to minor limitations which do not significantly reduce the productivity or yield of most crops. We also have marginal agricultural lands wherein they are classified as areas that have major limitations when it comes to topography, soil depth, rainfall, etc. And these soils may also have low to very low fertility and they have a suitability rating of S3. So perhaps nasa ano na siya, 3, ganun lang yon. Then of course, meron tayong lands with severe limitations. Ito na siguro na yung score lang niya ay 1 o kaya 2. And lands with severe limitations have characteristics that cannot be readily corrected. So such as topography and soil depth. So of course, kapag kunwari topography, nasa highland ka talaga. So, hindi siya alangan tapyasan mo yung bundok, 'di ba? So, ayun, hindi naman siya pwedeng gawin. Or sa soil depth, maghukay ka pa ng sobrang lalim, yung mga ganon. So, these areas can be upland soils located in rolling to hilly mountainous areas. So, these areas have suitability rating of N1 and N2. So, when it comes to looking at the site, ayan, para i-evaluate sila, meron tayo yung mga classifications na yon, and we also have some soil sampling and soil analysis. So, this is important for us to know if ano nga ba yung mga mga nutrients na kailangan ng crops na nandoon na sa soil natin. So, meron tayong tinatawag na soil test kit. So, it is estimated to be around 97% less expensive than analytical testing. Of course, when it comes to characterization ng ating soil, it will require, kapag gusto natin yung sobrang detailed talaga niya, of course, analytical testing. Pero hindi siya doable na hindi siya practical for farmers. Ganun. So, UPLB developed the soil test kit. So the soil test kit will provide an approximation of pH, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content. So dito, high, low, medium, ganun lang siya. Tapos, kaya namang i-follow yung mga instructions na nandoon. Ayan. So prior to this, an appropriate soil sampling procedure must be followed to get accurate and precise measurements of the site being characterized. Of course, if you have a site, let's say for example, itong square na to, yung nutrient dito, hindi naman pwedeng, or there are a lot of cases na may soil gradient, which mean, kunwari, dito sobrang taas nutrient, dito wala na. So, in order for us to have the representative ng buong site natin, may mga sampling patterns tayo. So, for example, Z, kunwari, ito yung iyong field, ayan, kuha ka ng soil sample dito, 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 dito. Then, tsaka mo sila i-test for dun sa soil test kit. Pwede ring X. Ayan, soil sample din sa mga sites na yan. Then, tsaka mo siya i-test for soil nutrients. Ayan. Ayan. So, meron din tayo, of course, ang isa rin sa mga critical factors ay ang climatic data. So, you can get climatic data from the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration. Ayan. So, meron mga field stations naman yan. So, in our case, sa UP Los Baños, so we have the agrometeorological station near the College of Engineering dito. So, it gathers and provides on routine basis simultaneous meteorological and biological information. Ayan. So, pwedeng kumuha doon ng climatic data. So itong mga to, they are responsible for the dissemination of agricultural meteorological advice, warning, forecast, bulletin, and other important information needed by the farmers. Yeah, so that's it for this video. I will record another video on the land preparation and field practices.